Alcatraz versus the Scrivener's Bones. This is book 2 in the Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians book series by Brandon Sanderson. 322 pages and 21 chapters. This is a fun adventure fantasy, but written in the style of autobiography. So this is he's 13 when this happens, and it is about him retelling the story. So a mix of Cyclops from X-Men, Indiana Jones, and Scott Pilgrim versus the World vibes. This is a different group of evil librarians. The Scrivener's Bones are mercenaries, and they believe that they are following the teachings of Biblet Odin more accurately than all the other groups. I think there's like 4 groups, and so the evil librarians, their goal is to control the world and all the information in it, and thus getting people to act as they want, thinking that cars and airplanes and all forms of transportation are very similar and kept uninteresting and exciting, so that people are afraid of change and shy away from change. Things that are exciting. I think there is everything in the free kingdoms that is those not controlled by the librarians is almost to the point of backwards, in that they have technology, magic, just things that seem so unexpected, but are just a lot of fun. So it makes for a great story, and there's lots of asides because he's 13. The main character is 13 at the time of these events, and of course, in the front of the book, he's riding a glass dragon. So the transportation is a little bit more exciting in the Free Kingdoms, and the goal here is for him to rescue his grandfather and father. They are located in the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, so they use the dragon to get there. Um, yep, so a rescue attempt, and so we've already talked about the setting, and there's some talents. So he is Alcatraz Smedry, and his family line, the Smedrys, have talents. We find out a lot more about the talents and the history of them in the Library of Alexandria, but I don't want to give anything away. But his is, the main character's is breaking things. His father's is losing things. But the 2 new ones are his cousin. She wakes up extremely ugly, and his uncle can get lost at opportune times. So those sound pretty terrible things to have happen to you randomly, but they are great for exciting, and make for an eventful story. And at prime times when they need them the most, they're there. And so this is less about battling and conflict with weapons, but more about conflict with tools and cunning. The premise and theory, or the thesis of this whole series, is that information is the most important thing. So by controlling the information, the librarians are in control. The free kingdoms believe that everyone should have all the information. So that's kind of the conflict that's going on, and makes for an interesting fantasy novel. Yep. This is the Scrivener's Bones. They are mercenaries, but they've also given up a piece of their soul in exchange for more power. And so while he's going through the library with his group of adventurers, his relatives and friends, there is a mercenary chasing him the whole time. So you got different groups of librarians. Of course, once they get to the library at Alexandria, you have to give up all of your text, anything with words on it, receipts, gum wrappers, anything, and that's the price of entry. So that was really neat, really clever. And the curators are ghosts. They have given up their souls in exchange for checking out a book in the Library of Alexandria. Supposedly everything ever written is in the Library of Alexandria, and so they have this valuable bit of information, right? The thesis is information is important. At least that's what the librarians believe. And so by checking out a book with the Library of Alexandria, you can check it out and read it or whatever, but then you become a curator and stuck inside the library. So we learned about an interesting phenomenon that happened when he was using grappler's glass. They're boots with glass on the bottom that let you stick to other pieces of glass, right? He's riding on the dragon over here. So, yep, he touched it and it like overpowered. And so that has been like an undercurrent plot line that goes throughout the whole series. Things I really liked, information is powerful, right? He's not running through the sword chopping people down, right? That's Bastille, who is also equally awesome and a lot of fun. It's an absolute awesome character. But information is power. He uses his cunning, his breaking things talent, his luck, any bit to get them out of sticky situations. I really like that. It's not a brute force thing, it's a let's figure this out thing. So that was really cool. The library at Alexandria, very clever, right? It's supposed to be, lost to history forever. It's underground, it's hidden. Those who enter usually don't leave because they become curators and floating ghosts that are stuck inside. So great concept, lots of fun. And I really liked the coercion. If you if you knock a book off the shelf, that counts as checking out, and you lose your soul. So they have traps throughout the library. So when you're stuck in the trap, there is a way to get out of the traps, and they offer you solutions. They say, hey, there's a book you can check out that will help you get out of this trap. So they're banking on people getting frustrated and then being coerced into becoming a curator. And I really like that. As a teenager, I think that's a really important thing to pick up on, is that everyone has their own agenda, but also that they could be misleading or using misdirection or indirection to get things done. And so that's an important thing to recognize. And maybe something that isn't talked about enough. And it's packaged in a fun way. So I really enjoyed that. From the 13-year-old point of view, right, there's just enough anxiety, there's just enough angst, a slight bit of cockiness, but, it's just, if, I discovered I had superpowers, there would be some of that too. So I liked the getting lost talent that his uncle had. That was really fun to explore that in depth. That was a really fun one. And I liked that his grandfather left him some glasses, so that was cool. Things I didn't like that he left the glasses but not more advice, right? Information is king here, and he didn't, he could have easily left more information, but that's another thing, and that's part of the story, is figuring it out as we go along. And I didn't like the father, Atticus. I think that was intentional for the storyline, but I just didn't like him. He just was not a cool guy. So there is a quote here about expectations, and this plays into the whole information thing. And I even did a senior speech in high school about expectations, so this line stood out to me big time. Expectations, they are among the most important things in all of existence, which is amusing because, being abstract concepts, you could argue that they don't even exist. Everything we do, everything we experience, and everything we say is clouded by our expectations. We go to school or work in the mornings because we expect that it will be rewarding. Or at least we expect that if we don't, we'll get into trouble. So yeah, wow. Having low expectations and exceeding them, that's something that I like to go for. I've heard of people who have way too high expectations and are disappointed all the time. So yeah, just something that is, psychologically, something that we apply to situations seems like, I don't know. It just seems like something that is needed to be talked about. So again, packaged in a fun story. I enjoyed this. It was lightning speed. I think I read this in 2 days. Great book, lots of fun. Give it a try if you haven't yet read this series. So remember to buy your books used.